to your Snapshot Transit Forecast Report. This, of course, is the Peace Dealer, and I hope you gain the utmost of quality from this Mars, and of course, Mercury Transit Talk Report. We are, of course, going to be looking into Mars going through your third house, coming out of your fourth, and Mercury that at this stage is already out of Libra and is getting ready to move into Scorpio. So Mars for sure is going to prepare you for your Mars return in Sagittarius, which everything about that looks like you're getting ready to party and kick off. Like this looks like you ever know when they do like those scenes that add suspense because like they drop the gasoline and they put a trail of like gasoline and then you wait for the fire to catch up, right? And it finally blows up. That's kind of the trail I see through the Scorpio season. And relative to that, it really sets up what to expect. Like once Mars hits, of course, your return in Sag and then starts to, begin to transit Pluto and whatnot, I think if anything, this is going to really kick off the rest of the year for you and really push you along this very exciting and ascended philosophy, but really more so perspective. So yeah, that's the first thing I kind of wanted to establish with that. Mainly just as far as the third house quality of the nature of your chart, drawing about, because you're late 24 degrees rising, Scorpio starts your fourth house 24 degrees. So this puts you in a position to effectively strengthen the pure energy and psychological direction you take your attitude, as this will of course step closer into your fourth house, putting you in a position to realistically strengthen the comfort that comes into this third house transit. If anything, you want to see the third house transit is moving in that direction, and then crossing the fourth house is like establishing and anchoring it. Even more pronounced with Saturn, which is literally that stamp, that boom, that anchor that now squares the sun. So we want to look at this period because right now Mars is leading the pack, but eventually Mercury will overtake it, and then Mars, and then the sun. So that 24-degree Scorpio period is what's going to begin to really intensify a lot of now focusing this outward towards other people, as Mars will eventually, with the sun and Mercury, transit Aquarius. Okay. So the reason why that's very important right off the bat is, given the nature of how everything's leading forward to, Sagittarius is going to now take this private, meaningful perspective and prepare to change how creatively you see the vision to move forward in, and then you move in that direction, Capricorn. So Scorpio is just preparing to strengthen the quality of this energy to now make for more, of course, ascended quality, amongst other things, relative to how this all works. And a huge element of how that's playing through is concluding the activation of Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio, which is really now a very effective way to look at the transits coming into the fourth house. Because as you can see, outside of Venus, we've had the Sun, Mars, and Mercury activate at your rising, activate with Virgo, and now conclude its activation from 24 Libra to 24 Scorpio. Once the planets start to move past your fourth, you're officially beginning integration. As we can see at current, no planets are at this space other than the moon. And Mercury is going to hit it first with Mars. All right. And that point of integration relative to every year activating how you're going to express yourself over the rest of the year is definitely pivotal, because this is what's going to begin to break those seeds through the ground with Saturn, that of course is going to be opposite there to add so much. Like the presence of Saturn and the Sun is what's going to add so much more intensity to this, because now you're aware of these dynamics coming through in here. And so that's the first thing to kind of establish. Mars will be traveling with the Sun majority through this. The Sun will kind of slowly but surely catch up to this. So this is going to intensify and deepen this private, intense space for you. And a lot of this will really have you examine how much more purely the actions you are taking really engineer not only this activation of your attitude and how you'll begin to integrate it privately with other people, but now all of this is as an Aquarius Sun. You're aware of these dynamics, okay, relative to your legacy, relative to your career. So as an Aquarius Sun, you're wrapping up the year before your solar return. And this is where you're going to embody what the rest of us in the collective are going through relative to this counterattack of what we represent. And it's very important to keep in mind, like, one thing that might have been hard for us to accept as air signs is that we are of a supreme celestial class. Me at the Gemini end representing the first stage evolution, and you at the Aquarius end representing the realm of God. God lives in the third heaven. The third heaven is Aquarius. You feel me? So like, we have to remember that we live in a dimension that does not necessarily believe we exist. You're an ascended celestial king. I have an archangel spirit. Most of the people who we walk around, even these people who pretend to believe in spirituality, like, they believe in angels until we tell them we're angels. And then they're like, oh, I mean, I guess you mean that vigor. No, bitch, we're angels. Like, we talk to these angels directly. So like, it's still important to keep that in mind. That's your Uranus sun. That's my Uranus moon. Like, people do not have the capacity with which to actually accept the existence of what we are. Their brains do not allow them to actually make sense of this. And we may not have accepted how supreme we are as an existence. This is no debate, fam. Just off the strength. And that's what has a lot to do with these Mars transits, as you're now carving through this pure, intense direction towards maintaining and breaking through how you act off of this in society. With Mercury, how you communicate this in your third house of attitude and really direct this without even having to say words. This is where at its negative end, you know what I'm saying? Especially through the Leo and Libra axis, which their sin is pride, why the sun is in its fall in Libra. This is where now at this end, the negative part of this is this sense of elitism, where it's like, okay, we're higher than these mortal beings. And, you and I, we know we don't need to engage in that because we're here to serve humanity. We're here to serve. It's just still the need to not hold yourself back because it makes other people feel uncomfortable when it's really their own inferiority complexes that don't allow them to see you for who you are. That's what it means to have Uranus on the sun. Your very existence is controversial. You cannot really go and talk about how you're a celestial angelic being because people will deadass get angry at you because it goes against what they believe in when it is a fact. That's that's the burden here. You're not being controversial, you're being innovative. That's the revolutionary quality of Uranus that brings innovations to what used to be old traditions. And that's what happens when you bring this innovation. People want to hear it because it works. You can't fix what isn't broken, but you're bringing an innovation. Just off the strength, my G, that we did the ritual, I was talking about Gabriel's going to hit you up, y'all. And Gabriel hit you up instantly. There's no denying that, bro. Seeing the angel garb, like, let's just look at it for what it is. Not only did you spin the block and win in the infinity on this national television program, Archangel Gabriel is showing himself to you, angel garb and everything through technology. Uranus, this is not debatable. I have people seeing my angelic form and they had air energy. So like we represent that new age. We represent that shift up that and like think about the consequence of that. This is now taking this very passive aggressive inferior element of the collective that cannot process this because some people don't have air. Most people, it's not out of a malicious attempt. They're inferior, like they cannot process this. They don't have Uranus and Aquarius like you do that can process the supernatural with your brain here. It is impossible for them to really make sense of metaphysical influences they can't see. This is going to be fantasy to them. It just so happens what's fantasy to them is our everyday life. And there's a pride that comes with that. There's a certain, not the deadly sin pride where we look at ourselves as better than other people, but there's a confidence that comes with the fact that you live a life that to other people don't even believe. This literally sets air and water, the yin, on another level between those who are just yang influenced. A lot of earth, fire sign dominants who, like, they're yang. They're supposed to deal with the physical. These are the ones that spend all the time in the gym and feel like, oh, if you're not taking real physical action, you're not doing stuff with your life, which works for them, but like they don't understand shit about the yin. They need to come to us for that. You know what I mean? Like if they even know that that exists, the ability to govern imagination with your mind and now induce psycho abilities like telekinesis, telepathy, they still think this shit just exists in comic books. We're actually seeing and experiencing this stuff. And like for such a long time, we have had to be in the shadows, to being suppressed, being attacked, being ostracized and ridiculed for literally being advanced. That ends. That's what this North Node coming out of Taurus represents. That's what this Mars transit getting ready to return in the Sagittarius represents for you. Because Jupiter is on your MC, you're expanding this quality of the legacy. And that's the main lesson of this transit, where Mars is going to be opposite Jupiter, Uranus, and Taurus. Where you, I mean, like, come on, my G. Like, after an experience like this, which you've been experiencing your whole life, I can imagine. I don't think you've ever had issues with doubt like this. But, like, it makes it so much, like, imagine people trying to act like we're delusional because we believe in and know we're angels. We're just going to be thinking about how Gabriel spoke to us. I guess you don't know Gabriel like that. And that's why I value you, bro. Because this is the gift you give to everybody. Just like you showed me that synchronicity. This is you as the main character, bro. This is you as the humanitarian, the eon of the new age, the Aquarian celestial king. You collectively show people these miracles. Whereas, like, you could have shown this to somebody and somebody be like, okay, that's just a coincidence. Like, that's just in your head. Because their brain does not have the capacity to perceive magic like, oh, we do, in a very consistent, practical way, right? This is why I could predict everything I've predicted on Instagram, and people will still think, well, it's vague, well, it's a coincidence. It's not really hate. It's their inability to do this. This is why some people are muggles, and this is why some people are anointed. You know what I mean? It's not to really set a distinction of we're better than them. And I love that about you, because you never put that energy out there. You're very much so like a humanitarian, but it's still important to draw those boundaries, because some people take it the other way and just let these people walk all over them. This transit and energy is like, no, you don't have to believe what I know is true, but you're not going to disrespect me because of it. And that's what you're indirectly, without even having to use any words, establishing over the next 6 months. That is the third house South Nodal Libra transit to really direct how much more confidence you step into this power, because this is a huge deal, B. That really made my day, by the way. Just knowing that you're just so tapped in. And that's the hope of the star card that rejuvenates faith relative to these dark forces playing Satanism and trying to gaslight people's belief in themselves and dive people down this very numbers-based, evil, materialist, reductionist route. That's not going to work, because, we the Calvary, and we're here to screw all that shit up to their dismay and horror. So yeah, a lot of that counterattack is kicking in now. Like, by the time Mars is in Sagittarius, you're kicking ass. You're already kicking ass, but like, this is where you're putting the turbo boosters on here. And that's where now, like, the Scorpio oppositions to Jupiter and Uranus are going to be 180-degree harvesting what Uranus and Jupiter are evolving on your legacy. Literally expanding the quality of success you're at this point destined to achieve. And this is where this is going to really allocate unexpected windfalls of income so that you can now renovate your inner space and deepen it. But this is what now brings us to Mercury, which will also catch up to Scorpio. And a lot of the Mercury Scorpio transits are going to intensify and deepen the quality of how much more powerfully you're even in that position to continue to really accentuate your brain's psychological processing of how deeply you're intensifying the direction that the Libra transit took you in. By the time Mercury's in Scorpio and starts to square your Aquarius energy and reaches that 20 degree mastery to now start to step into this T square, this is what's going to integrate that activation towards activating this sense of your attitude towards other people. And this is going to unveil so much deeper wisdom. The direction that you're moving in now through Libra season, you're going to uncover deeper layers. It's going to have you talk so much more saucy before you add spice with it in Sagittarius, Sagittarius. Okay, so that's what's going to add deeper layers. But the Mercury through Libra is what's going to determine the direction you develop your attitude towards. It's going to be opposite Venus, polishing the nature, of course, of this very raw and original quality. Okay. And it's also going to put you in a position to very, very, very powerfully, open up, if anything, so much more of exactly what message you're at this point destined to realistically, oh, nice. At this point, realistically, be put in that position to, over the next 6 months, develop what will become a philosophy or a philosophical approach, if that. And just to kind of really speak more about that, it really does go a long way, because the South Node on your third house cusp is preparing you to ascend throughout the next 6 months. The third house Libra is very important because this is the classic artistic attitude that you third stage activate before you begin to integrate in Scorpio. So the activation that we see here is now that the sun has gone through here and Mercury and Venus will eventually polish. It is your brain really committing with the awareness of Libra here towards what attitude, what mind frame, what message are you getting ready to tell other people in Aquarius, which will now strengthen into the knowledge. This is a great period to come up with new song ideas, new ideas to put yourself out there. But the key here is everything that you are releasing, this old attitude you're releasing, the way you kind of use your social skills. You're unlocking your social skills so that now by Aries, what was a theory, what was, of course, an attitude is now philosophy. It's now something you're able to teach. A skill that you may have been learning relative to this update that you've activated is now mastered through the sixth house to the point where you can teach it. So this is what's going to add more originality and rawness and authenticity to what you're effectively unlocking at current. And that's where the direction that Mercury with the sun here is influencing that you head into, all right, is going to put yourself in a position. Oh, nice. It's definitely putting you on a straight shot track to intensify and add more sauce on. But since this is the third stage activation that you strengthened in Leo and then gained a perspective in Virgo and then moved in that direction in Libra, the integration will begin with breaking those seeds out the ground by now adding more depth and quality to how much more intensely you'll be communicating what you're activating. So, you know, a whole lot of the development here relative to, especially once again, May and March with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces and Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus are preparing for these series of 180-degree oppositions that have already been made in Virgo and will be made in Scorpio. Mercury's light opposition to Venus and Aries is also what's going to add a little bit more excitement just relative to how well you can polish the raw nature of your heart and take a lot of that excitement and balance it. But because this is very much so concluding the South Nodal chapter here, in a very exciting way, I think is just going to prepare you to deepen and strengthen how much you move in that direction. And Mercury, I think during this period, because it will also trine your Mercury and Uranus, is putting you in a position to innovate how you unlock these social skills by adding this crucial element of an advanced quality of the God level of your awareness and knowledge to start beta testing these new attributes towards existing skills so that by your birthday period, you've now, of course, put extra sauce in Scorpio and now it's fully charged. So it's kind of like a charging process that will blast through Aquarius. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this report. A lot of this is getting ready to shift your attitude socially and that understanding that with Uranus on the MC, And Jupiter is expanding the unconventional nature of your approach because we're not from here, B. And the whole nature of this is we're no longer apologizing for being ahead of our time. We're no longer apologizing for being advanced. If these people want to be ignorant and slow because they want to keep on purporting these old, outdated traditions that are not in any way based in reality, because what is real is that Gabriel hits you up. They're going to say that's fantasy. That's actually reality. Okay. So it only goes to show that the lie they live has nothing to do with you. All right. And that's where these outside influences can push you directly or indirectly to maintain and compromise to an ideal that is not based in reality. And that whatever is not based in reality is this whole notion that you don't connect with the angels like you do. You're not in any way supernatural, which you know is a lie. And so this is going to, as we get closer to the house of other people, start to have you break through this and be, the star that you are meant to be, and to really awaken the collective. And you stay blessed as always, brother. And until next time.